Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third edition of GWF webinars. My name is Sarah. I work for Geospatial Media and Communications. I will be hosting our one-hour webinar today. We have two speakers with us. Both of them are an expert in urban mobility. I will introduce our first speaker, Mr. Alain Butzberger. He is the founder of SWISSTRAFFIC, based in Zurich. So Alain would like to say hi to our audience.
Yes, hello, my name is Alain. Thanks, Sarah, for the opportunity to speak to this audience about mobility topics. I'm very pleased to be here, and I hope we will have an exciting time together during the next hour.
Thanks, Alain. And our second speaker is Mr. Sami Pippuri. He is the founder of MaaS Solutions. Hi, Sami.
Hello, everybody. It's really nice to be here, and yeah, I'm sure that we'll have a great time.
Great, looking forward to both your presentations.
Thank you very much. I will speak about artificial intelligence in mobility. How can we shape the mobility of the future? I want to introduce very short myself. As Sarah said, I'm the founder of the SWISSTRAFFIC company. The SWISSTRAFFIC company was founded 21 years ago in 1999. I'm especially concentrated in business development and especially for new technologies with artificial intelligence. Something about the company itself, we are mobility engineers. We provide mobility solution for smart cities and have build our own intelligent sensors with the motto counting with added value. So here you see the Gartner curve with the hype cycle for emerging technologies from the year 2019. I will only pick up some topics for the future innovation themes in mobility topics, especially as you see point one, autonomous vehicles, but I will speak about or show you something about drones and then the delivery drones. So let's begin with the passenger delivery drones who should come like Gartner is saying, in the next 2 to 5 years. But I will show you that the technology is already ready for passenger delivery drones. As you will see here in this next video, it's a video from Uber Air. As you see, you can very easily catch or reserve a drone. The drone are on the rooftops, I think especially in the hubs, maybe train stations, for example. I already was in such a drone because in Singapore they already have a drone where you can pick up this drone as a passenger. So the technology already exists. It's the law who must go forward to make this technology be real. The next topic I want to take is also with drones to show you that the cargo delivery drones also already exist. It's not a theory. And as you see here in the video, it's a film from FedEx. As you can see, it's something which is already tested in several countries, also in Switzerland, especially for hospital to transport medication from one hospital site to the other. So we had already pilot projects in Switzerland, but I know it's also working in other countries over the world. So I want to come in now into the theme we have. So we dropped one thing. Staying on the Gartner hype cycle, you see there are other topics which have a touch with mobility. It's the artificial intelligence, and they are saying that this is also coming in the next 5 years. Edge, artificial intelligence, edge analytics. And what I want to show you is that it already exists. We from SWISSTRAFFIC are already using artificial intelligence. We developed our edge integrated artificial intelligence in sensor, and we'll show you how we are using them. So as you see, we want to combine artificial intelligence with the 5G technology, with smartphone data, and integrate all this intelligence in existing cameras. So our topic is to use no additional hardware. So here a short presentation about our AI sensor we developed, where it's edge computing, so the analytics is integrated in the sensor, and we are providing so a plug and play solution now, as you see, with a combined hardware. But our topic or our aim is to provide this analytics without providing new hardware, but using existing cameras on site. So, and what I say, we transform existing cameras into intelligent sensor with a plug and play AI solution using our Swiss analytics software. And I will show you some use cases, concrete first use cases on multimodal mobility data analytics, first for smart cities, then for public transport, airports and train station, for retail store, shopping malls and smart buildings. And at last, I will show you also something for in relation with COVID-19, because this is a very actual theme where we can use our artificial intelligence. But first, the most important special features we can provide. What's very new on our AI edge computing is that we can detect people anonymized, of course, with no face recognition, so that we are really fully GDPR compliant. We have 12 characteristics where we recognize people or objects. We can also recognize the age and the sex and so on. So this gives us the opportunity to make origin destination for people or also for bicyclists. So this may be the most important special features. Now I want to go on to enter into the smart city. So what can we provide in multimodal mobility data analytics, especially for smart cities? Of course, we can make the object classification and tracking of these objects on a roundabout or on a crossing. That's no problem in a city, and we can make the origin destination traffic flow. So we can detect pedestrian, we can detect bicycles, and about 6 to 8 vehicle classes, and it grows and grows because artificial intelligence is not staying stable, it's always moving, so we get more and more object classes during the time. We made a pilot in the city of Zurich. Here a sample. On the left you see the flow, and the yellow lines the flow of pedestrian with the origin destination of this pedestrian on this crossing lines. And on the right we detected in real time all the traffic, including bicycles, motorbikes, trucks, and so on. And the result, what you get on the bottom is a counting list where you have in real time all this counting of all the traffic in this place. So the next topic in mobility is the public transport and train station. Here, of course, we can fit with all special features. We can detect persons, people, and this is rather important because when you're inside a train station, it's very difficult to make the flow, the origin destination of people inside a train station. Outside, maybe you can use smartphone data, which we are also using, but inside a building, it's very difficult to make the origin destination of objects, especially of people. And we can provide this sort of solution. So we can monitor passenger movements. We can also monitor how many people are changing from a train to a bus, for example, or taking which stairs and so on inside the station. So we can understand the impact of factors like such as holidays, incidents, meteorology, and so on, and the system, and that's very important. We are looking very strong to it is fully GDPR compliant. So here maybe two videos showing you how we are counting people, crowded people. For example, here in a train station at the top or at the bottom, you see on the video how we are detecting cars and the motorized traffic, but also pedestrian. As you see, we detect every object which is moving inside a building or a street. So the next topic are the airports. Airports are very similar to train station, but you know, from this COVID, it's very important, or it's getting more and more important to provide new features, to integrate new technologies, and especially to use all the existing cameras which are placed all over the building inside the airports. So also here we can detect the movement of people. We can detect which with vehicle passenger is coming to the airport or getting away from the airport, is coming with a taxi, with his own car, or with the public transport, with the train, for example. And so we can use many data which are very interesting to improve the mobility inside the airports. We can monitor events, we can promotion traffic, we can compare customer data of different branches, locations. Here we are more in the retail solution, but as you know, also in the airports you have many shops, and it's always very important to know how the shops are working. So, and as I promised you, I will show you some special features for the COVID-19 people insights with the same Swiss analytics software, which is embedded in existing CAMs. We can detect the group size. Now in Switzerland, it was 5 people. From next week, there will be 30 people allowed in Switzerland. We can detect the social distancing. Is the distance between persons correct? In Switzerland we have 2 meters, in other countries it's less or more, and we can detect if people are wearing masks or not. And everything we are detecting, we can send an alarm, such an alarm through an SMS or through a mail to the security officer, who then can decide if he wants to go on site, if it's important enough to go on site or not. The newest feature we developed is, yes, to detect if people are wearing a mask or not. We will make next week bigger projects in 2 big train stations in Zurich and Bern here in Switzerland, to see how many people are in reality wearing a mask using a train in Switzerland. So we will see what will be the result. So Sarah, we can continue, please. And another thing we are developing, we were developing and using, are the smart data, the data from the smartphones through a telecom operator in Switzerland. So we can detect all the movement of objects, of people in a train, in a bus, in a car, which goes over a city, over different cities, over a big area, over regions, or all over a country, and can show how people are moving. So we did it, or are doing it, for Qatar in relation to the soccer World Cup in 2 years, and preparing it with this smartphone data. And what you see on the left, what we can provide from information, of course, the origin, destination, number of visitors, what is the origin of this visitor, from which country are they coming, the average travel time, and so on. So we can provide many information and combine this smart data with the AI embedded software in existing CAMs, gives us a huge data and a huge insight how people are moving inside an area or a smart city. So coming already to the end for the summary. I'm persuaded that in the future it will be very important to use existing infrastructure and not to put more and more hardware in the cities, because there is no time for maintenance. The solution must be implemented very quickly. If you have to install new hardware, it takes time. You have to prepare it. You need power, etc. And when you do that, you keep the hardware costs at a very low level because you are using already existing installed hardware. Especially for us now, these are cameras. And we can provide remotely, we can integrate our Swiss Analytic AI software in a very quick way in this server, a central server, to make these cameras more intelligent. So that was my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention, and don't hesitate to contact me in case of question. Thank you.
Thanks, Alain. You are actually 5 minutes early. So maybe I can take a few quick questions for you from the audience. There is one question. How accurate is the age and sex detection?
Yeah, with an accuracy which is over 95%, but of course it's depending on some specific weather condition. If you have heavy, heavy snowfall, for example, or you have fog, then it will be a little bit difficult. But in all other cases, at night, where is some light and so on, the detection of these objects is very accurate and very high.
Okay. There is one more question. You mentioned that you also collect the origin and destination data in the train station. So what will you use this data for?
Yes, because you want to make sure that the mobility inside a train station is safe. So you need enough stairs to make sure that when people are moving from one point to the other, that there is enough space, for example. And today, more and more people, this is the case, especially in Switzerland, are using train. And at the rush hours, there are so many people in the train station that you can feel uncomfortable when you are in there in this mass of people. And for safety aspects, it's very important. And also to plan how many people are going from one point to the other, maybe to make the ways from one point to the other shorter, for example, and also to plan more in an efficient way, to plan more the table hour for the public transport.
Okay, one last quick question. Is SWISSTRAFFIC device commercially available?
Yes, everything I presented you is available from now.
So now I think we will move to our second speaker. Thank you, Alain.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And this is for Sami. Hi, Sami, you have 20 minutes.
Thank you very much. And hello, everybody again. So I'll be talking about, I'm Sami Pippuri. I'll be talking about maybe as a customer of such data. I could think that we have a sort of a complementing kind of an offering. So my background is in mobility as a service. I was the original CTO at MaaS Global, creator of the WIM app, which some of you might know. So now I'm actually seeing if I can help other companies as well, building locally optimized offerings of mobility as a service. So I'll be talking about somewhat, of course, the COVID subject is very important at the moment. So maybe a couple of thoughts about how that might affect, and also coming with, of course, fresh eyes, seeing how it actually has affected mobility. A few things about it. So of course, we've all been wondering about okay, what's going on, and marveling at the same time the blue skies and empty streets of major cities. And as a kind of a optimist, I kind of tend to think about it as an opportunity. It's a blank canvas. We can start again. It's of course the infrastructure is there. It's not a complete blank canvas, but it's more maybe offers an opportunity to reboot things and apply some updates in the process. How do we want this thing to actually work? And what has happened is also that companies who were previously adamant that people must be at the office and people wanting to be in the office with the fear of actually losing out, dropping out of the loop. I have plenty of friends working in these companies, and they confirm this, that the kind of the Silicon Valley mentality was that if you're not in the office in one of these companies, which is not remote first, you risk getting outside of the loop from key decisions. So you have to be there to get things done. Now this has been completely reversed. So companies are going and saying out in the open that we are not organizing major events anywhere else but online for a significant amount of time, or that we become remote first as an organization. Big impact in the tech sector that we may actually not even understand yet, but I think this is a really major shift. So what this means for commute patterns is of course yet to be seen, but what could happen, for example, that the regular commute may not return to the same level as it was before, at least in major hubs. And on the other hand, it might have the impact that people who do move are more hesitant about it, not so familiar, because it's might not be their daily commute anymore. They need assistance in navigating from one place to another. But what is likely going to be around for quite a while still, there's no signs of vaccine, etc. So people will be wary of congestion and crowded places. At the same time, and then when public transport ridership and taxi ridership even has been down as much as folks say, 80–90% in areas, bike sales have skyrocketed, and especially e-bikes. So people are clearly commuting longer distances on two wheels, and very interesting. Even places like the US, where biking is usually frowned upon, the bike sales are off the charts. But as a realist, what has tended to happen in growing economies, especially once people start earning money, they want to maybe invest that in themselves, invest in their perceived comfort, and in this new environment, that comfort may be actually replaced by safety aspects, because people will want to have a more personal space. They do not want to be sharing a small space with other people they don't know that freely. So I'm afraid that once we get back to the sort of the commuting patterns, that the car will be a very lucrative proposition for folks who do have jobs. And of course, there's a lot of unemployment, etc. So that probably actually is the kind of the gating factor for car sales. So while new car sales might be down for a significant time, but there might be a lot of used car sales. So people might be buying a second car or a third car into the family. Might not be a new car, but yeah, a little bit used. But all in all, it just increases the trend that was already there, that urbanization means traffic jams. And now that we don't have traffic jams, hopefully people will see that they don't want to go back to that kind of a urban area. But as people tend to have short memories, I'm afraid that this is kind of the direction it might be going, unless we do something about it preemptively. now that people have not gotten back to the road that much yet. So what can a transport agency, provider, transport authority do about it? Well, there's of course plenty of things, but here's four sort of major areas. One is definitely embracing digital solutions for transport services. So it has to be touchless digital experience. So people are not probably going. I mean, even in Germany, I've heard that the amount of contactless transactions has really risen a lot. So cash is on its way out. It's largely out here where I live in the Nordics already. People just don't carry cash with them at all. But contactless payments, that's going to be a way for bringing trust into the system, I believe. And that should work across modes, not just a single mode. Then the other thing, of course, the topic here as well, 5G connectivity, whichever connectivity, but it has to be real time and it has to be first class. So it has to be accurate for actually providing information back to the organizers of the transportation, but more importantly, to the end user, that the information about the transport options is accurate and up to date. Then, especially in the cases of local, say, strong authorities running transportation, maybe think about how to connect public transport services with private and vice versa. So, say if there is a private car, you should be able to connect very seamlessly to transit services. And then fourthly, encourage the adoption of active modes and shared modes. I will talk a little bit more about this. So in design-wise, digital solutions as well as minimizing the kind of the congestion or sort of the crowdedness of major hubs. There are already a few cities which are kind of implementing this kind of scenarios where there are multiple smaller hubs sprinkled around, say, perimeter of the city and in the center of the city, but there might not be like a massive train station with everything connecting to it, but more like smaller hubs where there might be additional services which are providing options for their kind of immediate vicinity. And key there again is that the experiences need to be touchless and digital and providing up-to-date information and pluggability into the other options, say micromobility or bicycling and so forth. Then I mentioned data. So obviously that's kind of where it all starts. So once you have things running around, be them people or buses or whichever kind of mobility options, there's the kind of the static view, which is the kind of the pre-planning and so forth, how we would like things to go. But reality isn't like that. There will be traffic jams, there will be delays, there will be cancellations. So keeping people informed at all times, that is going to be one cornerstone of how to bring back ridership and perhaps even increase it from before COVID times. And then the seamless multimodality. So I know in mobility as a service, there are many kind of viewpoints to this, that, okay, what is the kind of the true spirit and true backbone of mobility as a service? But to me, it's a mesh of everything that is there to serve the end user with an oversight of planning. But all the modes should be accessible, all the modes that are relevant to a geography or a given person. And that should include private modes as well, should include cars. People do have cars. They should be able to plug into the transit system. And then on the active and shared modes, there's plenty of research on this, how encouraging active modes, walking, biking, improves the health of people and so forth. So it's definitely investment to be made in public funding, investing in infrastructure, taxation schemes, employer schemes. There are many options around this, but obviously we're seeing that this is actually, it's a good time to actually do this. People are ready, they're accepting it. So now is a great time to actually put your money where your mouth is, and support these active modes. Shared modes, there's lots of variety in this, and of course, bike sharing is a very good one, combining both, like incentivizing active and shared. But it could also include many other modes, including car sharing and so forth. So I know car sharing, for example, has been sort of struggling to find the fit to the market, but I think that's just a logical way how things in the future will go, with the change in people's perception of what ownership of expensive assets such as car mean. So coincidentally, these are the kind of building blocks of mobility as a service that I've grown accustomed to while working on this topic for the past 5 years. So the mobility as a service is defined as the kind of intermodal services, changing shift of the modality from single person modes into multi-person modes, sharing as well, promoting active modes, walking, biking, as well as the public policy side. So governments, local authorities are in key positions to actually make this a reality with policy governance. And of course, as a techie, I like to add usually that this all is actually enabled by having an open API-based data ecosystem. So it starts again from data. We need the raw materials to actually do something in computer science, but then you also have to be able to access it and make it available in this kind of public-private partnership fashion. So something we spent a lot of time thinking about and planning when creating the WIM application for Helsinki and beyond. There's a very easy way to get overloaded by data, because there's so much of it available, and we are gathering more and more all the time. So when you sort of build layers on top of it and then provide a service on top of it, the massive value add that the service can do, deliver to the end user, which ultimately is kind of make or break in mobility as a service, is how approachable do you make it. So there's lots of these kind of sources for real-time information, which can be used for wonderful things like estimating the arrival times and delays and pricing and so forth. But to the end user, it boils down to which one of these massive amount of options is actually the right one for me, who can deliver that kind of a service, as well as plug people in to the actual service then finally. So moving from the sort of the data side into the delivering of the service, and finding the right balance between multiple aspects that the end user is looking at, chiefly among them being cost, but and I would imagine earlier it was a lot of time as well. But I think that people, and this would be very interesting to actually do some research on that, how much do people now actually value health aspects over time aspects. But I think what was already the trend before is that environmental aspects are definitely such that people are really concerned about. But then there are others that may not be the people's thinking, but more like the operators of the system. Grander things like, okay, what does it mean for the system overall, the society, and how do we say build a system that supports quality of life in our city? These are aspects that can be looked at from a sort of a higher level. And this is also what I kind of helped build in my previous role, and I'm really excited to actually research this a little bit further. So this is something that I call transport AI, and it's basically a parameter-sized AI where we inject certain parameters, targets from a regulatory point of view. Say, we want to have 80% public transport modal split in a given area of Helsinki or London, or well, London is kind of heavier on PT anyway, but targets for an AI, they thrive on this. They want to achieve certain numbers that we set it. And then we feed these algorithms with lots of data that here is all the kind of possibilities that we can connect people from one place to another. And then we also feed in, say, information about the user before, which is where this feedback loop is very important. So, and where the actual understanding of what the user has actually consumed. And that can only be achieved in a system which also provides the service, the actual act of moving people from one place to another. You could argue that maybe Google probably knows how you are moving, but maybe a smaller service doesn't, unless you provide them with this kind of a feedback that I can present users with a list of options, which I think that, or this AI, if I was the AI, that the user would like. But then what is invaluable is that the user actually says that actually I want this one. And what's the incentive for the user to do that? Is basically by being able to actually embark on that journey. And that gives the kind of the credible feedback that the AI system like this will need, essentially. Other option is, of course, to keep track of whether people travel all the time, but I think that this is a more elegant solution with less privacy implications. So that kind of thing is actually relatively simple to build, and as having done this already before, I'm actually now seeing if I can take this a little bit further from the domain that is being used in at the moment. So company MaaS Solutions is set up for this kind of purpose. So aside from working with a single company, now we can work with multiple entities around the world, companies as well as public entities. And our point of view is not to sell, say, a single kind of a solution. We realize that companies and public entities have different needs, as well as, especially important these days, is to have the know-how of actually building these kind of things in local hands. Brings jobs, brings activity in the local region. So that's what I want to help with companies as well as public authorities to build up in their local communities. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much, Sami. Right on the dot. So from both of your presentations, I can see that there are already a lot of work done with AI sensors, drones, So what do you think, how do you think 5G connectivity can further enhance this application? In what way it will help urban mobility? Maybe Alain, you want to go first?
Yes, so as you saw, we need video streams, and we want to make existing cams more intelligent. So if you put somewhere a camera, you have to stream this video in a secure line, for example, into a server central of the municipality. And then you need cable, you need fiber optic, and so on. If you have 5G, you don't need any cables like that. You need only a cam with power. And then you could send these video streams in a secured package, of course. It must be encrypted or crypted, must be sent then to the server central. And so you can do it in a very easy way and a very fast way. So for sure, is that for us a very important technology.
All right. And Sami, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think from systemic point of view, it's kind of like a layers on an onion. So you can do a lot already with basic 2G connectivity. However, it's the faster you get, the more volume, the more data sources, the more sensory information you can get. Of course, the better service you can create. So there's a question about this can be done with 4G already. That's correct. It can be done. However, when you actually start to include lots of different sensor data, networks get congested, and like was mentioned already, the new kind of video-based AI solutions that are kind of creating us that base information. Those are demanding lots of connectivity. So yeah, sure, yes, can be done with 2G already, but the experience won't be as good.
Right. So we get a few questions with regards to privacy and security concerns, since there are a lot of infrastructure now that are collecting data, especially individual data. So what are your thoughts on this, Alain?
Yeah, that's a very important question, because we are looking very strong on this privacy issue. So all sensors we are developing are all GDPR compliant, means that we are absolutely correct in the regulation of the law on data protection and privacy in the European Union. And that's something which is very important. So as I told you, we do no facial recognition. We do only object recognition. So I saw a question, how can be the age and sex recognition be as accurate as 95%? It's not possible without a face recognition. So it's an estimation. I think we are in estimation about 60 to 80% accurate for that, not more. It gives an estimation how old people are, it's a woman or it's a man. But for the object detection, we do it without facial recognition, and we are absolutely GDPR compliant, and this is very important.
Sami, would you like to add?
Well, yeah, I mean, privacy is a kind of a pet peeve of mine, so I could talk for another webinar about that. But and I think I'm happy that GDPR came and rose this up, because I think think about it what you will about GDPR, but it has set up ground rules how do you treat people's data, and also a very strong governance model behind it. So I think that's actually looking at it from European eyes. I think that's that's the first in the world, and shows progress in this. And I think at the same time we're looking at cloud services and cloud-powered ML solutions which feed on a lot of data. So I think that it's not easy, but it's a kind of a best practice these days to basically build services that can utilize data without compromising on GDPR. And it does take some engineering effort, but ultimately I think that it actually produces better solutions, more robust solutions, which people are more comfortable to actually use.
Right. So when we talk about AI and all the frontier technologies, it is more familiar with the developed regions, developed countries. So what do you think the developing countries, how can we help them to adopt this technology, and how long do you think it can happen for them? Alain, maybe.
Yeah, it's
With your technology, with SWISSTRAFFIC technology. So
it's very interesting.
Any developing country would like to adopt that.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I'm persuaded that in developing countries you can integrate and develop this faster than in the developed countries, because they can begin from new, and they sometimes have financial helps from the developed countries to increase this, and so you can plan it in a very good way. In the developed countries, you have to do it with existing infrastructure. It's more difficult, but because you cannot begin from zero, so it costs more. It's the law is also there with not letting the things going as fast as we would like to. So in the developing countries, it can be much faster to implement such solutions.
Okay. So Sami, do you think cities in developing countries are ready for mobility as a service?
I would second what was just said, because and I've seen this in practice when you actually want to implement, say, a digital way of accessing transport services, then might be stuck with a gate that was designed in the 70s or something, working with paper slips, and this happens in the developed cities these days. But when you actually build something new, then you can start from a cleaner slate. So I think the developing countries are actually in a good position in these kind of things. But of course, then the other aspect is maybe the capability to invest into say, revamping transport infrastructure and so forth. But so it's kind of a catch-22 from a mobility as a service point of view. But I think that you can start step by step, so you don't have to go all in. It's enough if you start combining, two things at first, and then being open for others to join. And I think in many developing countries, it might start with, say, local rideshare company or could be public transport authority that kind of takes up the position that, okay, I want to include different kinds of services for my constituents. But yeah, I think that it's feasible in any market, basically.
Right. Both of you mentioned this in your presentation about how COVID-19 will change the urban mobility. So what do you think would be the new normal for urban mobility after COVID, and how this frontier technology like location data, AI, drones, how they can help for people to adapt to this new normal? Alain?
Very good question again. Yeah, it's difficult to say, but I think it will not be the last time we will be confronted to this COVID-19. Maybe there will be another name for this new virus in the next future. But what we learn in Switzerland and our culture is not the same as in the Asiatic countries. We learn to wear a mask, for example. That's new, and to wash our hands. And I think especially to wash hands, to be careful when you meet people. I think this will change our social life a little bit. But humans are staying human. They want to normalize their life, and we want to shake hands in our culture. And this will of course come again, because we want to live. And it's the same with mobility. We had the chance with the COVID that the bicycles were much increasing, the cyclists, and I think this is a chance for the politician to see that we can do much more for bicyclists in our cities.
Right. And Sami, what do you think? How technology can help people to adapt to new normal?
Yeah, well, I think I went through a few in my presentation. So obviously, one is re-establishing the trust by giving this relevant information that is accurate and up to date. I think that's really key in is that re-establishing the trust. People will want to avoid crowded places, at least if they have the option, whether you want to board a crowded train or not, they will pick the non-crowded one for sure for quite a long time. Gradually that will, they will be comfortable with more and more people around them. So it might actually return to pretty much same kind of ways as it was before. But I think there's, like I said, there's more remote work possibilities. So people will be taking that up. What that might mean to real estate, etc. Commute patterns might change. So already, people are commuting so much, the miles and kilometers commuted, that even a small change will actually, mean pretty big things. 5% of commute, that's a huge chunk. So I think, the next few months will tell that, how people will then return to work and return to social life. But I think we can start from, looking at the kind of what can we do to make that 5% change for the people who are hesitant, etc.
Right. So you think there is a certain mistrust in technology among the public right now?
I don't know if I think the accuracy of information is probably for vast majority of commuters, they will probably say that the information isn't accurate enough to make these kind of decisions. But so I think the onus is on the transport operators and authorities to actually provide proof that now we have stepped up the game and provide accurate, timely information, minimizing wait times and minimizing congestion.
Right. So both of you are like from the private sector. So do you think there will be opportunities to work with the public sector and maybe the scientists to get into technology more, to push more of this technology in city management? Alain?
So yes, our aim is to work with cities to make the cities smarter in all mobility aspects, and we are already strongly working with smart cities all over Europe.
And Sami, have you been working with any public sectors or academia?
Yeah. So basically, mobility as a service is kind of grounded on public infrastructure. So obviously and that's why I highlighted the role of the public sector in this. So most world runs on publicly owned roads. So as well as public transport services in major cities. Those are really the key. And I know that there's a lot of excitement about mobility and mobility as a service in most developing as well as developed countries and major cities. So I think that it maybe we took a small hit or sort of step back. That wait, what's going on with this COVID thing? But I think now I'm kind of getting a feeling that things are actually okay. Things are going to go back to normality, and now we need to get things going, or otherwise it's too late to make any kind of changes before.
Right. Okay, so we have 5 minutes only left. So do you have any last word for the audience, Alain, before we close?
It's difficult to have last words because we don't see the audience. We don't see them. They only hear and see us. So for me, it was a very interesting opportunity to show you what we are already making and integrating with this AI solution. And I'm sure that in the next future we will develop more and more specific things with the AI to make more interesting things and to improve the mobility in smart cities.
Right. And Sami, what will be the future of urban mobility?
What will be the future of urban mobility? Yeah, well, it's to be seen. So I would want to have a kind of a ideal where we want to go, and then work our way step by step to actually find out what works. So I think it was great to be able to present here. Thank you everybody for joining and listening to us. And yeah, I'm available if somebody wants to connect me offline as well.
Okay, thank you so much to both of our speakers and to the audience for joining us. This webinar is recorded. You will receive the link to the recording, I think, by tomorrow in your email inbox. So that's it for us. I hope you can join us again the next 2 weeks. There is one more webinar. Stay safe, everyone, and please keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.